Hello and welcome to the Tech on Toast podcast. My name's Chris Fletcher and this is season 12. Tech on Toast podcast is serving up fresh chats with the sharpest minds in hospitality and tech. If you're looking to level up your ops, streamline your service, or just sprinkle a little tech magic into your business, you've come to the right place. And guess what? Our partners Lightspeed are back this season to look after us. They're the EPOS and payments platform helping over 165,000 businesses. Businesses such as Big Mama, Mildred's, Mallow, and Cubit House. They'll help you scale at, you guessed it, the speed of light. See what I did there? With real-time insights, faster transactions, and slick integrations with people like OpenTable, Xero, Muse, and many more, Lightspeed's unified platform is built to boost your performance and turn your tables quicker than you can say flat white, extra hot. So, if you need fast funding, check out Lightspeed Capital. No hidden fees, no interest charges, just smart support when you need it. If you're curious about all of this, just head over to lightspeed.co.uk/tech on toast and book yourself a free demo. You won't regret it. Now, enough of that. Ready for the next episode? Let's go. Episode of the Tech on Toast podcast, and today I'm delighted to be joined by James Med, COO, Chief Operating Officer at YoungOnes. Probably the best tech name we've had this year, I think. How are you, mate? Nice to meet you.
Yeah, good. Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me.
Welcome to BrewDog Waterloo.
Yeah, it's great, huh?
Yeah, we'll shut the curtain. Sorry, mate, it's a bit miserable of me, but I've taken him to a pub and then shut him in a jail. So, yeah, but
giving me a glass of water.
Water locked in the room, no beer. But welcome anyway. Well, you guys are based Amsterdam, right?
Yeah, our headquarters is in Amsterdam. It's where we were founded 7 years ago, but we have an office here in the UK at Old Street, and in France, in Paris as well.
Show off.
I know.
And you're not originally from there, though. You've got I spotted your accent a little bit as we were walking over. Where are you from originally?
So originally from the northeast of England, so near Middlesbrough, a small town called Saltburn.
Yeah. So are you a football fan?
I am a football fan, a Middlesbrough supporter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. Did you guys miss out?
Yeah, we missed out on the playoffs.
Yeah. For non-football people, that last 5 seconds meant nothing. But look, before we get into it, before we talk about YoungOnes, tell me a little bit about you. Kind of, what's your background? How have you ended up here today?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess kind of professionally, my first 7 years professional life was in marketing technology. So marketing automation from email, SMS automation, when the cloud was a thing.
Yes.
Right, and the selling point. And then also social media aggregator and automation.
Oh, I think I need to have a chat with you after this.
A company called Hootsuite.
Oh, I know Hootsuite. Yeah, we used it all through the pandemic. I was using that.
Yeah. So I used to work for these guys. And then more recently, for the last 8 years in marketplaces. So 3-sided and 2-sided marketplaces across restaurant delivery, across e-commerce. So vertical e-commerce in France, specializing in DIY. And home improvement, and now the last year and a bit at YoungOnes, so freelance marketplaces.
Wow, and you've done that already really nicely. So tell us about YoungOnes. Is probably, and I think you're solving a problem. My personal opinion that needs solving. I think before you explain, my understanding of the workforce is there's part-time, full-time, and then there's this middle ground that no one's really, I don't know if people have labeled it yet or not, what I call flexi time, where you've got this flexible workforce where you've got to kind of, it's just perfect for hospitality. But tell us, before I ruin it for you, tell us about YoungOnes.
It's good because the first time we spoke, you kind of hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, because I'm a former operator right now. People bore with me saying that, but that is the huge issue in having that middle ground of workforce where you really need people at a certain time on a certain day, but don't want to commit to the financial commitment of having someone full time, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. So overall, our mission is to make work easy and accessible to everybody. And what this really means is that we're a platform, a marketplace that connects businesses looking for job seekers and then job seekers, freelancers who are looking to pick up shifts on a daily basis. And for operators, this makes it super easy and flexible to bring in people to the business. And for people looking for work, it really just breaks down that barrier of traditional recruitment where I'm posting my CV, trying to find work. It really just connects these two people in a much simpler fashion.
And there's a thirst for it, right? As in... obviously there is, you built YoungOnes, but do you know what I mean? But there's I think the user has changed. I know the businesses have also changed or being impacted. But are you seeing that the fact that that's driven by the need for this kind of work?
Yeah, from both sides of the marketplace. From operators, the need for this kind of like flex layer is ever more important. P&Ls, they're being scrutinized a lot within the hospitality industry at the moment. So this plays a huge part, and labor is a large line on that P&L. And then for people looking to work within freelance, we see an uptick. The UK is seeing an increase in the percentage of people who are looking to work via a freelance means.
And what are the major appeals, I suppose, to if I'm a young buck? It's a long time ago. I'm not even telling you what I'm approaching this birthday. But anyway, what are the major? I think I know what they are. But what are the major appeals to that user end, the younger people who are using the platform?
It's kind of be your own boss.
Yeah.
Choose when you want to work. Choose where you want to work. How long? For whom? This work, and it's not just YoungOnes that offers this. The lifestyle of a freelance is.
It's my life.
I have you'll be.
No, it's true, but
you'll be able to tell us, right? It's just the ultimate kind of. You make the choices, and where and whom you want to work with for how long. It's
and I think it makes up a lot of in hospitality historically. It's always been you kind of when I was running, especially with Hard Rock Cafe, we used to run musicians who were jobbing their way through trying to fund a dream to be a rock star or actors. In fact, an actor worked for me on the bar in Cardiff, and he played Brian May in Queen. So he was like really famous. He's very famous now. But Gwilym Lee, started working for us, just doing part-time stuff. And it's that ability to fund, and hospitality is perfect for that, right?
Well,
it's just a great market.
There's a huge trend within kind of Gen Z of this like side hustle.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that we see utilizing the platform, who are funding a passion.
Yeah.
Actors, sport, people within sports, musicians. It's all there, right?
I don't know who they are now.
Yeah, and they're funding. And there's I don't have the stat off the top of my head, and I don't want to say anything stupid on the podcast, but
I do every week.
But there's a percentage of freelancers that go on to start their own businesses. We do a lot of freelance research afterwards, and unsurprisingly to me, a large percentage of these freelancers are going on to start their own businesses and do something else, and we're just a blip sometimes within that.
You're part of their journey, right?
We're part of their journey for sure. So that's a really cool thing that we're super proud of.
And if I find a place that I really love, so let's pick BrewDog since we're here. Yeah. So I'm part-time gigging here at BrewDog, but actually I end up falling in love with working with the team here, and everyone's really nice. Yeah. I kind of want to stay. Does that happen? How does that get? Can that happen in the business, or
it can happen?
I guess it's rare because I guess the reason people come to you is not to do that, right?
Well, like on average, I think a freelancer via the platform, they typically work in around 5 different places.
Right. Okay.
So, and that's on average.
Oh, what? So they're working 5 different
five different roles.
Wow.
Right. So they're not just staying in one place.
Yeah, that's just my single-mindedness thinking.
Yeah, like a lot of people are coming for skill development as well,
and I guess they're picking up
new
shifts because their shifts are all different in different places. Obviously, it fits their flexible lifestyle.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, that makes much more sense.
So again, like I'm looking at my agenda for the week. I've got a school class maybe on a Monday and a Tuesday. Wednesday, I want to pick up a couple of gigs, and I have band practice on a Thursday. Like it's really this type of scheduling that they're
flexibility
doing.
is probably the main driver. Then, would you say of
flexibility? Obviously, it's income generating, right? They're looking.
No one's doing that for free.
They're looking to supplement maybe a potential income, or fund a passion or something like this. They're looking also for skill development.
Oh God,
that's okay.
I'll get that in the edit. Don't worry.
They're also looking for skill development. They're looking to learn and to grow. Again, like as a freelance, my reputation is very important. What I put in front of a potential employer in the future is really important. So having that skill development and working in different places and having the accessibility to I guess simplify a traditional recruitment method is really appealing for a generation.
And on the other side of the marketplace, you've got the guys, say BrewDog again, for instance. I don't know if BrewDog are a customer, but and the appeal for them, I'm guessing, is not too dissimilar to the other side of the fence, right?
Yeah, like it's again, like we talked about this as this kind of elastic layer that you put over traditional staffing, right? So you've got your core team, and they might be on full-time contracts or part-time contracts or whatever, and you invest in them and you train them, and then you have this elastic layer that expands and retracts with your demand.
Yeah,
right. On Friday, Saturday, we need some more people. So it's much easier to be able to have that flexible layer, drive it variable, than kind of worrying about administration of having people.
It's because I think people are, obviously we work with scheduling tools and stuff like that, and I think that people often look to that saying, "Oh, yeah, it's not good enough." But actually, the problem isn't in the tech. I think the problem is in the process and the management of the pull and push of demand. Like you just said, demand planning is always, whether you work in a factory or whether you work in hospitality, it's the driver of everything, right? All of your costs. If you can get your demand planning perfect,
that's it.
Not a lot goes wrong.
Yeah. And some within the hospitality sector, it's kind of like it's not finger in the air, but it's a little bit kind of like, we know on a Friday, Saturday, we get busy.
Yeah.
Right? So we need more people.
Yeah.
And then there's some larger groups that we work with where a lot of our main point of contact is within the financial controllers who are looking very specifically at the margins. And they're forecasting flexible work month in advance, delegating budgets to all of their locations to be able to spend on a marketplace.
So they will probably get like a flexi-labour budget.
So they have a flexi-labour budget, and this is more and more common now, and I think will become more common in the future, where you're really forecasting where your peaks are going to be, and it's not all last minute, because we do solve a huge last minute demand. Right?
Yeah, but if you had to percentagize, I suppose, your last minute kind of. Because most people, I think the use case is, oh God, we're in the crap. Let's go find someone, which is fine, right? Which is what it's there for.
Yeah.
But I think, like you said, that actually in the future or now with the extra cost that everyone's holding, that actually planning this is a lot more. And I suppose it is quite. Planning flexible workforce sounds like I'm.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, what you're doing, you're planning the budget.
Yeah, you're allowing.
You're empowering your operators.
That's the word, empowering.
Right?
Yeah.
You're empowering your operators to then spend and essentially meet the demands of the end customer.
Yeah.
Right? Generate revenue for the business. And your question was kind of, what do we see last minute versus kind of more forecastable? So around 30% of the gigs, so we call kind of a shift a gig, 30% of the gigs posted are last minute. Which means for us, the definition of that is that they were published to the platform, matched, and then the start time was within a 24-hour window.
Wow.
So there's I tell this story a lot. There's a hospitality brand that we work with a lot in London, and a lot of their gigs are published at like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. in the morning. Right?
Who the hell is this?
And you can imagine the operators like taking a look at the bar at the end of the night and going, we need more people.
yeah.
Right. Oh God, that was a
or walking into a kitchen after service, just going, "Oh my God, there's more food on the floor than there is in the plate."
100%. So we see a lot of this kind of like out of hours use as well, where a high percentage of our gigs are published outside, like within unfavorable hours or outside of business hours.
Which says to me that actually the CFOs and these guys have to be involved, right? Because the ability to go and spend money potentially on labour that might not be needed, but having that pre-planned budget, the flexi budget as you talked about, or having the ability to say, do you know what, I need to dip into my bucket this month because we haven't got the people.
Yeah, of course.
And that's a fantastic way of being able to access, because at the front of all this is service, right? And if you haven't got decent service, you haven't got a business.
That's it. And every operator we speak to, they love the platform.
Yeah.
Right. It's rarely an operator that says, you know what, we don't need this. But
is it like a drug once they're on it?
It's once they see how easy it can be.
Yeah.
They love the speed, the flexibility that it can bring.
And it's that site managers who love it, because I'm interested to know, because
it's both.
It impacts them, I suppose. The
site
most.
site managers that they feel the pain.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of like your more regional operators. They're the ones that are saying, well, yeah, you can use it because I want to solve your pain, but it needs to meet a certain percentage of labor cost, right? But they need to be enabled with this flexi budget. So, yeah, there's a little bit of change management, which is not, it's a little bit of a new market we're creating here, right? So we're doing a lot of education around this as well.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And I remember speaking to someone a while ago about this, and we probably last year was in hotel sector, and we were talking about it, saying that it's here already. I mean, I'm going to say this word now. You're going to freak out, agency. And I'm sure he just walked out.
My throat became dry as soon as you said it.
But you know. That existed, right, previously. And I know it's a different animal. And I suppose we should give you the right to kind of explain I think we have explained what the difference is, but do people reference you as that sometimes
all the time?
Yeah, because it still exists, right?
All the time.
Especially in the hotel world.
We correct them, right? Like we're definitely not an agency.
Because it has a taint, doesn't it, too? I think it has the word I'm looking for. But there's something about agency that makes me go, ugh.
You said it, not me.
Yeah, but you can't say that. I can't. So yeah.
But no, like we're just a technology platform.
Yeah.
We're an enabler here, but we speak with some of the same people who have traditionally used agency. And again, I think one of the misconceptions is that it's either or.
Yeah.
And that's not how I see it at all. Like we're building a new layer on top, which wasn't there, which is this flexible layer.
And you're also accessing people that previously weren't available to these brands, right? Which I find the most exciting part of it.
100%, right? So you've got a couple of different channels to find talent.
Yeah.
One is through your traditional recruitment method, your website, right, where you'll get X%. Then, temp agency, where you'll get another %. And then what you have is like 26% of people in the UK who are not there.
Yeah. So
if you're not using a tool like this, then you're missing out on talent.
And I think there's an age of so my boy's now 18, but when he was just turning 17, he could not find, no one would give him a chance, right?
Yeah.
Because he was fresh out of school, right? Or whatever. So, and I think there's a huge part of the workforce that can't access jobs because through the normal means or through LinkedIn or whatever, Indeed, all those places, right? They're just getting lost in the noise.
They're just not there.
Whereas this way, I can control it, right?
Yeah.
So I can. I don't even know why I thought I didn't tell Shay about this, but
it's noise, or they're just not there. They're just not interested.
And you probably flip, a manager looking will probably flip past them because they don't have that experience or whatever. But those guys are perfect for you, like for a Saturday night, just helping clear some tables or whatever it might be,
For sure. And we spoke with a large it wasn't hospitality, it was a large retailer, and they were opening a huge store in a famous kind of shopping street here.
I love the way you avoided every brand name successfully.
And what they told us is that through their typical kind of application management, they were getting, for a job, they were getting thousands of applications. Yeah. Like, how do you even manage that? And they were still doing paper contracts.
Yeah.
So going through 1,000 CV, I'm sure they didn't go through 1,000, but the first 100.
Yeah, and you can't help but bias just kicks in. Well, not even bias, but just the lack of will to read through, to read through, and they just don't have time. Yeah,
just don't have time. So the cost, the administrative burden is huge. Where kind of with a platform like YoungOnes, what we do up front, we verify kind of right to work identification. Right. So we support them here just to make sure that there's a lot of.
You do that legwork, so because trust is a big part, right? And I was reading here, it's not just trust; it's trust and reliability, right? Because you've got to be able to kind of. People is the ultimate part of their business, and they've got to put their faith in you, right? And
within hospitality,
and this is why agency has that taint to it, because I think people imagine the black waistcoat, turning up looking disinterested, not really want to be there. How do you avoid all that stuff? Because that, they're obviously walking into a brand. So let's say a Pizza Pilgrims, for instance, right? Yeah. Heavily branded, really kind of culture thick. Led company. Yeah. How do you kind of ensure that person going in is not going to cause drama in their poorhouse that they're there? Good luck with that one.
Yeah. Thanks for this. So first there's something that the tech does. Yeah. So kind of right to work checks, ID.
So they're legal.
Get the basics done, right? And it's like we're not required to do this. This is something that we want to do just to build up that trust, legitimacy. Then also things like contracts and also payroll is taken care of within the platform.
But how do they pay then? How does that work? Who gets paid? How do people get paid?
Yeah, so for the operator, we basically send them a consolidated invoice mostly on a 2-week basis.
Yeah.
And then the freelancer can opt for to wait until the operator pays, or they can also cash out with 1-minute payments.
That's cool.
So they can access earnings.
So the minute they've worked.
So the minute that their
Finished
hours
work.
have been approved by the operator in this case.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool from a perspective from a freelancer. So we help on that part, and then I guess from a trust element. So within the platform, we have a rating system, which is 2-way.
Yeah.
So a 2-way rating. So the operator can rate the freelancer, and the freelancer can rate the operator. In this case as well. And then on the freelancer side, we also have much more, I guess, detailed ratings, so skill-based ratings as well. Because just a typical 5-star
doesn't really tell you a lot, does it?
Doesn't tell you a lot, right? So we go much more into detail on within hospitality. Can they carry a tray? Can they latte art? All of these types of skills and things that are important within the hospitality sector. And then we allow also the freelancer to build up much more qualitative profile, so they can add any other detail, maybe work that's happened off the platform, all of their background. And then when an operator posts a gig and they get reactions, the operator has full transparency of which freelancers have reacted to this and basically said, hey, I want to work, including things like motivational notes. So me as a freelancer, if I love your brand and I shop a lot at your brand, or if I visit BrewDog Waterloo a lot, all right, I can put it in there. I know the bar already. And then they can also see all of this data. So we're compiling this data for the operator to have full transparency of who is showing.
Powerful data set you're building there, not just for the operator, but for you generally, actually, as a business. It's quite interesting.
There's a lot there. So, but in all, the operator sees who's showing up.
Yeah,
and that's a big difference between potential other channels and traditional channels. Right?
Agency.
But knowing who's going to turn up is super important for the business.
Well, yeah, and
they have the skills.
Yeah, and it's probably that part that was always the part that people have been nervous about in the past, right? When tech didn't exist or wasn't there to support that kind of, and also the need that or the want from a worker to behave like this, right? Agency was seen as a job before. It was seen as like, I work for an agency, I get these gigs, I go in my waistcoat and I go and do 5 or 6 gigs every week. Whereas now it's very much like, I'm going to do 3 because that's what I want to do.
Because that's what I want to do. And that's the important bit is I want to be there.
Yeah.
So the person that's going to come through your door,
because they're asking,
wants to be there.
Yeah.
So you're going to see higher motivation.
Yeah.
We see like higher attendance rates. Right. Our no-show rate is minimal.
And do they tend to keep going back to the same brand then, or does it not have
really
it?
Varies. Like I said before, like average around 5 different roles. So no, like freelancers are looking for varied work. Whether
I suppose. Why wouldn't you?
I want different skills, or I just want stuff that's around my other kind of scheduled stuff. So yeah, it really does vary.
I find it. I just think it's quite exciting because for so long, the recruitment market generally has been a bit not dull, but nothing really exciting has happened in it. If there's some people doing some good stuff now, like you guys, and I think I've seen some of the AI stuff creeping in at the front end, where people are able to stop the 1,000 CV thing, or at least work through it quicker. But I it's great to see putting the power back in the job seeker's hand.
Well, yeah, the power. We're putting power in on both sides.
Yeah,
right. The job seeker, essentially, they're freelance, right?
It's crazy.
It's their reputation. It's where they want to work, whom they want to work for, and when they want to do it. And then for the operator, it's the ultimate kind of transparency.
And what about the cities? So I'm guessing you launch a new city when you. How far and wide are you in the UK right now? Are you just in London, or are you?
No, so we're far out of London. So
Okay.
we're all the way up to Glasgow, Edinburgh, and a lot of places in
Middlesbrough.
between. So we've had not in Borough. I think we've had 2 gigs in Borough, huh? And I was super
that you?
happy. Oh, the emojis on Slack were wild. When we got this one, no, but we're in around 15 different cities.
Oh, right, okay, so
in the UK.
Okay, great.
The flexibility of the marketplace as well means that we can be somewhat client-led.
Yeah.
So we've had a lot of opportunities. There's one large retailer now within the UK where we're live in 30 more.
So yeah, if you bring on a big
stores.
chain, I suppose that all of a sudden that opens up all the cities,
Sure.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So we can grow a lot with brands. One of the biggest stories that we tell a lot, and one of the biggest themes we see from hospitality is, hey, we're in London. Yeah, okay, we're pretty happy with our agency, but we're going to Manchester. We're going to Birmingham. Our agency is local.
Yeah.
They can't support us.
We've got no security.
Right.
Yeah.
So who does it? So we're able to, I guess, the liquidity of a marketplace from that perspective of a pool of job seekers is much easier for us to acquire versus an agency.
Yeah.
Because again, they're freelance.
And I think previously when I was used to, we used to open sites all outside London. My old job was. I think we opened 60 odd outside of London, and always the challenge was finding. Obviously, you recruit your team, but that you need to cover your backside, right? Because you only get one chance to make a good impression, and just having enough availability for that period of time when you're growing or embedding in a city. Again, just this YoungOnes just makes complete sense.
It makes it a lot easier because typically what we see with Hospo is that somebody from the core team in London they'll live in Manchester for 6 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, now they do because
they'll build up build up that core team. They'll do a lot of the recruitment, and this is where traditional recruitment is super important still, right? Because you need a core team. You need to invest in that team. You want to retain that team. Like retention rates within hospitality are again like 40-50% annually, right? It's I don't know if I've got comparisons against other industries.
No, I was running at 120 for a while. So yeah, you're
Right.
literally turning your team 1.2 times a year.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Not great.
So not great. So you need to invest in that core team, and this is through traditional recruitment and traditional kind of like employment kind of empowerment. But then this hyperflex layer on top is again within new cities that you're going to allows you to grow very quickly without having to find a new agency or go through traditional recruitment methods outside of where your core business is, I guess.
It makes total sense. And you're servicing my son, the Gen Z.
Yes.
And what they must show you, I suppose, or you must learn more from that generation. Really interesting because I think we're learning more and more every time I see tech being spun up for them. I suppose that will change eventually. But what are you learning from them, or what are they teaching you about what they want or how? I mean, we covered it a little bit probably, but is there anything else we've missed?
Yeah, I think the first thing to mention is that within the UK, YoungOnes, despite the name, we have an average age of a freelancer on the platform of around 29 years old.
Yeah, how old? 29.
29.
Wow.
So I think that's still pretty young. But I don't know.
It's very young.
I think that's young. So they're not young. We're not talking just kind of like people graduating from uni and this type of stuff, right? It's not this type of person. Often they already come with a bunch of experience, which is great. But then when we look at kind of like Gen Z, like some of the things that we spoke about like a lot is this like side hustle.
Yeah.
And this is really the biggest trend that we're seeing is that, YoungOnes is fueling a different part of their either professional or personal or one of their passions, something like this.
I spoke to a girl today who's just been made redundant from a sales role in hospitality. She's building her own tech product, and she said to me, "Oh, I need to just find something to keep me ticking while I build the product." And I was just like, "Yeah, there you go."
Well,
It's just a great example of a use case straight away there. And I think, are you finding as you kind of get more well known? Because were you born out of Amsterdam or were you born out of the UK?
Yeah, no, born out of Amsterdam. So we're actually born out of a traditional recruitment business,
right?
Temp
Really?
Agency. Yeah. Where the three founders of that recruitment agency saw a need.
Yeah.
And we're kind of we've spun out of this private from this recruitment agency, and now we're a standalone business, etc., headquartered in.
Is it similar in Europe then? I mean, without taking you too far down the road, but is it quite similar? Is the market similar in terms of?
Pretty similar.
Yeah,
it's pretty similar. Again, it's the same positioning, it's the same use cases that we're seeing time and time and again.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's mostly kind of. When we're speaking with hospitality, and we're seeing staff turnover, we're seeing absenteeism, we're seeing late notice sickness. Like, you speak with any operator and they're not affected by any of these. Then
it's the one thing that I say that problems in hospitality are evergreen, right? They never. I mean, people say they go away and tech are going to solve them all. And obviously, I'm a big advocate of tech, but the reality is these problems are always going to be around because we're dealing with humans and service, and it's tricky. What we can do is manage them better, which I think is what you guys are proposing here.
Supporting, for sure.
Very cool. And I have to have a fun question with you.
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, if you could invent. Well, you've already got young ones. You can't have too much tech. But if you can invent any piece of hospitality tech to make these lovely hospitality workers' lives easier, what would you do?
Yeah, well, one that so I saw this question beforehand. No, that's point now. So I saw this question, and I've been thinking about this. And again, like when I think about the freelancers using a platform like YoungOnes, and it's the kind of diversity of skills that they're developing, I thought kind of like, wouldn't it be cool if they had technology much more of being able to kind of like draw the lines between all of these different skills and build up this kind of like model. So kind of like an AI kind of like work coach of like, hey, what kind of persona, what kind of
lots of tech people they'll be building this as we speak.
Well, I hope so. I hope so. Because like for me, within the freelance world, because they're working multiple different roles, because they're gaining so many more skills, being able to see, hey, what's transferable? Where do I want to be in 5 years, 10 years, and then being able to draw that path. I think that's a really cool.
Yeah, it's really, and actually, I think there's a lot of scope around people generally in tech. I think I was talking about scheduling. I don't want to offend all the scheduling people listening, but it feels like there's still an opportunity to really lead that field. I still feel like hasn't changed loads. Yeah. God, they're going to kill me. It hasn't changed loads over the years, and I think employee facing tech, definitely needs some love. Yeah. I think you guys are doing a great job there, and it's super interesting. We're doing a big project I'm going to do what you do now, with a big pub chain that I can't talk about, and hopefully we're going to get you guys talking to those chaps quite quickly. So it's really interesting. So you're London based over here. If someone's listening and they're thinking, God, I need some help, which most of them are, how do they get hold of you?
Oh, well, they can go to youngones.works.
Okay.
So they can find our website there, or they can find me directly on LinkedIn. Ping me. We're around.
I didn't ask, if I take on a job, how quickly? Do I need to contract, or can I just go on today and get started? How quickly can I?
So for freelancers, they can sign up pretty immediately. They do need to verify ID,
yes,
right to work, but those checks are done by kind of like our third parties.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. So they can be up on the platform within minutes, and then operators as well. So ultimately, we're a self-service platform. So somebody could go to youngones.works and sign up now, and they could be posting a gig in 10 minutes.
Love that. That's I think that was the point I was trying to make. It's the immediacy. Often the problem around people in hospitality is that you need them and you can't get them. Yeah, so this shows that there's an ability to get on there quite quick and get going.
And reaction. So like the I guess the power of the platform here is that we have over 11,000 freelancers in the UK that are signed up to YoungOnes. So once you post a gig, you're accessing a pool of talent pretty immediately. Right. So reactions are streaming in within minutes. Very cool. You're as an operator, you're looking at profiles, within minutes, choosing who you need, even at 3 a.m. in the morning, you can do it. You're not calling, They're
either drunk or knackered, or exactly. One of the two ways. That's why they're filling it out. But really interesting. Lovely to meet you. And I've been speaking on Slack, which is the new way of bloody speaking to everyone these days. But super interesting to meet you guys. And hopefully we'll see a lot more of you, right?
Yeah. No, we hope so.
Any plans left? Are you visiting? How long? Because you're based in Amsterdam, right?
I'm based in Amsterdam.
So how long are you in the UK
for? A couple of days.
Okay.
Some big client meetings, and then fly back. And of course, happy to be here as well.
And maybe a beer,
And maybe a beer now.
Yeah. All right. Look, lovely to meet you all. That was the Young Ones, everybody. If you want to find them, they're on the marketplace. You can also find James on LinkedIn. It's James Med, and we shall see you all next week.
Thanks so much. Yeah.
Thanks, mate. Bye-bye.
Bye.